What is up, everybody? I am Kevin Iole. Thank you for joining me. One of my favorite guests of all time comes on. He's in the top five. I don't want to say who else is in the top five, but I got a top five. Kamaru Usman, the UFC former welterweight champion, joins me. Cam, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Kevin. How are you?
I am doing good. Looking forward to seeing you come back. Joaquin Buckley in the main event in Atlanta. This is a guy that's really kind of made a little bit of a meteoric rise, I would think, right? For you, this has got to be kind of a surprise. Like Buckley, when you were the champion, Buckley was in another division or wasn't up near the top. Now, I think he's a win or so away from a title shot.
Yeah, he's really done a great job with what has been presented, and obviously, it's put him in position to warrant a fight, like this. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the challenge.
The one thing that, I would say you're one of the best winners in the history of the sport, let alone in the UFC. 19 wins in a row, the championships, everything that you did during your title reign. But we're talking almost 4 years, brother, since we've had that arm race. Like, is that gnaw at you? Like, what is it like for a guy who is used to winning, is one of the best, and you're on this red streak?
Wow. I mean, when you say it like that, you hurt my feelings. I don't think anyone's kind of said that.
I gotta speak truth, Kamaru. Come on.
No, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. That's the crazy thing is I don't necessarily think of it like that. And I guess that's what makes a fighter a fighter, because when we go into these fights, we're, for me personally, I'm leading with my heart and my soul here, because I want to feel the fight, and I want to feel that I did enough to win the fight. Obviously, like you mentioned, the last couple I've come a little bit short, either on the scorecards or with that a kick from Edwards. But yeah, for me, it doesn't. When you look at those, it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
For me, because I went out there every time, and it's not that I didn't perform or I didn't try to perform. I did. I definitely tried. So I guess that's probably why it doesn't feel like that. But yeah, this would mean a lot to go out there and get out of that red column, as you say.
Well, I was going to throw back at you afterwards. You were beating Leon Edwards in the knockout fight up until the final 5 seconds, and the other two losses were majority decisions, right? So it's not like you got 50-45 or 50-44 in those fights. You were right in the fight. So when you look now going forward, like, is there anything you need to change, or is it just so happen that, hey, there's other good fighters in the UFC, and sometimes that happens?
There's always been a good and great fighters in the UFC, and especially in my division. Um, that was never really the case. It's no one can do this forever, or else we'd have 60-year-olds in the UFC still trying to fight and compete. Um, Things happen. If you look at that fight with Edwards, there's I deal with things each and every fight people know or have an inclination of, but that's not really an excuse. I didn't finish. Yeah, I dominated the majority of the fight, but I didn't finish. And then in the next two were kind of like funky fights, especially the next one with Edwards.
Right.
It's kind of a funky fight for me, trying to get in it, when something like crazy like that happens, that second one, it kind of pulls you back a little bit, to where now you kind of have to reassess, like, wait, am I doing the right things? Was I doing the right things? And so I think a little bit of that kind of spilled over to the next fight. And then, the one with Hamza was a short notice. It's kind of tough to really build that ultimate mountain of yourself to go in and compete, especially against a guy like that, a tough, strong and a really, really impressive fighter like Hamza. Yeah, so those two were kind of funky, but I think that one you learn that, hey, let's shake this off. We can still beat all of these guys. We can compete with the best, and I truly believe I am still the best.
I got to ask you the question that everybody wants to know the answer to. Buckley's coming off a win over Colby Covington, a guy that you fought a couple of times. You know him very well. Uh, Colby had some things to say after the fight. So was Buckley hanging on? Was Colby about to finish him like he says he was going to do if the fight had continued?
I don't know. I think Buckley got into a groove with what he was doing, but the thing with Covington is if he's able to hang around in the fight long enough, Covington knows how to kind of build. And I think that's potentially something that he might share with me is that we don't just fight their skill or athletic ability, we fight their hearts too. And yes, obviously we would have loved to see what round 4 and 5 would have looked like in that fight. But unfortunately he was cut. He did a couple of things well. He had a couple of success. He had some successes in that fight. Obviously, Buckley was a lot. Buckley was landing shots, but it didn't really look like. Well, I'm not going to say it didn't look like because there were a couple of times he was in not so great positions. But Covington didn't show any signs of I want to get out of here. He looked like he still wanted to be in the fight. He was just cut
Right.
pretty bad, and then that when that blood starts bleeding in your face, it kind of changes the aesthetics of things.
I wonder if, obviously as fighters age, right, they change, right? Sometimes, you're at your peak physically and maybe you're not at your peak, with what you know about the sport and everything. And so, you're at your best, obviously, when the two intersect. And I was thinking as I was preparing for this interview, you kind of remind me of Vander Holyfield going into the first Mike Tyson fight, right? Holyfield, a veteran guy, had been the world champion, tremendous fighter, been through all these great bouts. At that point, though, he had lost, or he had fought a lousy fight against Bobby Ches. People were talking about his health, and he became a different fighter, but a still very effective fighter in Act Two, starting with that Tyson fight. Do you see any parallels, like when you look at it and you see what he did, beating Tyson in those two fights and going on and reigning as champion for another few years and beating some really good guys? He extended his career a long time. Do you see any parallels with yourself and how your first act was and where you are today and what may happen in the future?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I'm honored with that comparison because that's a real deal. Vander Holyfield, legend. Just want to obviously recognize that and hats off to Vander Holyfield and everything that he did in his career. Yeah, I think there's a place where you could see that comparison. It's about me, and it's about what I'm capable of doing and what I step out there and still am able to produce. So I think definitely I'm still the best in this division. Obviously, preparation and that opportunity gives you a chance to show the masses that. So, and this Saturday, it's another opportunity to be able to show the masses that.
What do you make of the division now with Islam coming in and fighting Jack later this year? You get the pound for pound number one guy in the world coming in. Some people are arbitrarily assuming he is the champion, right? And I think Jack showed against Belal that he is no easy out for anybody, right? And I think anybody who's assuming, hey, Islam probably should be favored against Jack, but I think Jack is very much in the fight. But I'm just curious what you think when you look at the landscape now. It looks like maybe it's been as tough as it's been for quite a while.
I love it. I love it. I mean, there's a reason this is the marquee division in the sport. Almost in all sport around this weight class, from that lightweight to the welterweight, is it's the marquee weight class for excitement. I love it. I love Islam coming up. I would say at one point I probably would have been a little annoyed with it, but I'm older and I'm wiser now. And then at the same time, I love Islam, and I really care for him. So if this was the decision that he wanted to make and chose to make, then I'm all for it. And as it pertains to me as a fighter, yeah, I love it. I mean, he goes out there, Islam comes up. Yeah, he's absolutely, I believe he's next to challenge for that title as a champion going up. You absolutely. should get that opportunity if you're willing to vacate his belt like he did. Um, I love it. I think him and Jack. I think that's a fantastic fight. I don't count Jack out, and that's the thing. I don't want to say I hate. It's just I guess it's part of the sport, but Jack is a very formidable opponent, and I said
Yeah.
it even before his last fight. I said this is a guy you sleep on him, he will ruin your day, and he went out there and he ruined Bilal's year, not just his day. And
Were
Bilal,
you celebrating, by the way, when that happened?
no, absolutely not. I
I'm
mean,
just
look,
kidding, but I know
yes,
you
of
guys had
course.
some heat.
Yeah, of course. Me and Bilal aren't the best of friends, but no, I would not never celebrate when someone falls short when they put so much and they work so hard for something. So I always celebrate that as a man, as I think the world and everyone should. It's unfortunate that we all don't. But JDM is definitely no easy out for anybody. So it's not just a shoe in. Islam's going to come in and get that belt. I do think Islam has the ability to do it, but it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
Fast forward, I mean, current pound for pound versus former pound for pound. I think that's a blockbuster. You know,
Yeah,
so
that is.
that would be a great outing to go out there and get another blockbuster before I sail off.
So let's wrap up with this. You know, we talk about Buckley and the what is the difference that you see in him, and where do you think you take advantage of him, right? Because at one point he was just this wild striker, and I think now it seems like and he showed against Colby. Hey, Colby's not an easy guy, and Colby will grind you and everything, and he I think he showed a lot in that fight. What do you make of him, and where do you think you still have the advantage over him?
No, he's tough. He's aggressive. He's powerful. He's a good striker. Very, very athletic. He seems, he's a dangerous guy to go in and fight for anybody. But I've said before, it's not for me. It's not just fighting the guy, the athleticism or the skill. It's the heart, and that's the part of any man that never truly lies. Is your heart. At some point, it will reveal itself, and that's what I've done. I've had a career of being able to do is really expose, the guys' hearts or the inner spaces where they might not believe in themselves or they know they
Right.
can't achieve this. So that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to go in there and, he's going to punch me. I'm going to punch him, and then our hearts are going to take over.
One of the best to ever do it, the former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. He will fight Joaquin Buckley, UFC Atlanta main event on Saturday. Kamaru, always great to talk to you, brother. Wish you the best of luck and look forward to seeing you soon.
Pleasure. Thank you, Kevin.
Be well, brother. See ya.